Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breaking Bard Much Ado About Nothing here on twitch.tv live action roleplay. So, this show is about taking Shakespeare plays and adapting them, or adapting scenes of them rather, so that they are more accessible for a modern audience. The first person I want to introduce is our director, Max. Say hi, Max.
Hi, how's it going, everybody?
All right. And we should come up with a question to ask all of you when we have you introduce yourselves. What's a good question to come up with?
Hmm. Maybe favorite Shakespeare character?
Oh, yes. I like that one. We're going to have everyone introduce themselves and say who they're playing or describe a little bit about themselves and answer that question. Favorite Shakespeare character? Max, what's your background with Shakespeare?
Sure. I studied at the University of California, Riverside to be a dramaturg. I believe I was actually the first to graduate from their newly created dramaturgy track in the theater department. I worked there both as an assistant director and dramaturg to Miles Anderson, who had been the lead actor with the Royal Shakespeare Company for some time. So I got a lot of experience working Shakespeare with him, as well as with another director, Robert Pryor. Robert, I assistant directed his production of Midsummer. I'd always had a love for Shakespeare, having grown up being a theater kid, but I really got to hone it with both of these two incredible directors, and continue to just practice both my dramaturgy craft as well as my work as an assistant director and director. Yeah, I've done a lot of various adaptations, not language adaptations though. So this is the first time that I've taken a whack at both writing and directing something like that, and it was really a blast to get to bring sort of my concept of much ado into the modern language and really emphasize those things that I might not necessarily have a chance to do otherwise.
And a couple of questions. Number one, define for the audience what is a dramaturg? And the second thing is dramaturge an acceptable pronunciation? Because I think I've seen
Yes.
both.
Yeah, dramaturge or dramaturg. It's a German word that literally, when you break it up into two sections, means like theater judge, right? And it plays a much larger part in German and some other both Western and Eastern European theater traditions, but it's sort of making a entrance into the American theatrical scene. And very generally, very roughly, the dramaturg is an individual that works with the director to help bring context to the play, to help seat the author's intent in the production, and help both the cast and the director understand why the play was written, who the play was written for, what the play was actually written about in its original sense, to help the director better bring their vision to that specific production. In America, a lot of times your dramaturg will be responsible for things like the lobby display. There's often a dramaturgy note that is included as part of the program. In German productions, it's very common for there to be director and dramaturg combos that eventually drift into the other role, but continue working with each other for years and years, sometimes decades. And there is a long tradition of having dramaturgy books. So the dramaturg will actually write a short book on the production, matching the original playwright's intention to the vision that the director is bringing to that current adaptation.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to have all of our cast introduce themselves. I'm going to start off with my upper left hand corner. We're going to start with Anthony. Say hi, Anthony.
Hi, Anthony. Hello, everybody. To remind myself and everybody else what's going on tonight, I am playing the roles of both Don John and Leonardo in the show tonight. There's
And
another question. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
and favorite Shakespeare character?
Ah. It's a bit. It's a bit of a personal reason, only because I don't know that many Shakespeare characters, but my favorite is Hamlet from his Much Ado Play Hamlet. Specifically for the personal reason of that was my final project in my high school drama class. The drama class that I shouldn't have been in and wasted an entire senior year of school being in, and then aced the final because I had performed the year before as a lead in the high school musical. Charlie, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Bit of a story. I'm sorry, it's gonna happen. Anyway, year before I performed as the lead Charlie Brown in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I came in senior year saying, all right, let's go to drama school. I had never taken a drama class and they weren't able to test me out. So I went into beginner's drama. I'm not a beginner. So the teacher had me the entire school year grading papers and then playing Tetris in the back while everybody else learned how to block and pace and do all this other stuff. The final project was the monologue of Hamlet. Every single person did the, dark and brooding, suicidal thoughts or a menacing thing. I was the only person who went up there with a fake bottle and played a drunk Hamlet at a bar trying to get his footing and while saying the monologue. And I laughed, I cried, I threw water at people. I threw water on the teacher, which is amazing. And at the end of it, she gave me a almost perfect score because she refuses to give anybody a perfect score. And that still pisses me off, but it was still the best performance of the day. So Hamlet holds a special place in my heart.
All right, next we go to Ashley. Say hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Look, I'm learning. Well, I am Ashley. I will be playing Hero tonight. And favorite Shakespeare character is a pretty rough one because I'm like, well, favorite to play, favorite to watch, favorite to dissect their language, et cetera, et cetera. So favorite for me, I'm going to pick my favorite one to watch. And I would say I have just this like deep love to watch Bottom. Seeing how someone plays like the jackass and what they bring to that is always such a joy. So I would say probably I'll give Bottom my favorite tonight.
All right, next we go to Alex. Say hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex. This is apparently a thing we're doing now. I'm Alex, pronouns he, him. Favorite Shakespeare character? Malvolio from Twelfth Night, because I love the amount of shade that Shakespeare was throwing just writing this guy in sort of like a historical context of what was happening at the time he was writing with the Puritans and all that. And I thought just throwing a very, very, very haughty, proud man who was making the most of his little social status that he had, and having him just like come so low, mostly because of his own vices, is the kind of thing that I think we should do more of these days. There are some egos out there that deserve to be pricked.
All right, next we go to Derek. Say hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek. Sorry, I was when Alex was mentioning large egos, I perked up, so I assume that was my cue. But I'm very glad to be here. It's my second round at Breaking Bard, so thank you for having me back.
Of course. And favorite Shakespeare character?
Okay, my first round, I did my favorite Shakespeare character that I have not performed yet would be Prospero. And my favorite character to portray so far has been Oberon.
Ooh, nice.
And that's only because there are very few. You don't get to see very many puppeteers who pull it off in Shakespeare. They tend to be a little bit. They attempt to puppeteer, and then it usually turns just horribly south for them. Oberon's kind of the one. It's the one kind of comedy that he kind of stays at that puppeteer level. So it's kind of fun to play around with that.
Nice. Next, we go to Mish. Say hi, Mish.
Not going to do it. I'm just going to say hi. I'm going to break the pattern.
Ah!
I am. Hi, Mish. It hurt. That
Yeah.
hurt me more than it hurt you. Hello, everyone. I am Mish. I am feeling a little bit of pain right now, but nevertheless, I'm going to be playing Beatrice and one line of Margaret. I would have to say my favorite Shakespeare character is the collective of every single ensemble fae in Midsummer Night's Dream, because I love seeing what people do with them. I've never seen them portrayed the same way in two different productions. And so they just make me happy. Just have fun with them.
Cool. And just so that I answer this question, my name is Ryan Omega. My pronouns are he, him. My favorite Shakespeare character, and I've said this repeatedly, is Peter Quince from Midsummer Night's Dream. And partly because it is the character that most resembles William Shakespeare himself, and it is said that that is actually him, that in a way where he wrote himself into the play. And when I read it, I totally believe it because it's how I act when I'm a director. So it's my favorite character in any play. All right. So now that we've introduced everybody, I'm going to turn the reins over to Max. Max, get us started.
All right, turning the reins over to me is, I mean, that's a bold choice, Ryan. You're taking some risks there, but I'm happy to do it. All right, so just to give everybody a little bit of context here, and then we'll jump into these scenes. I'm sure many of you watching are already familiar with the Breaking Bard format, and that we're doing modern language adaptations of a Shakespeare production of our choosing. I've always really loved Much Ado as one of Shakespeare's comedies. It is I it's either the second or third most produced comedy. I mean, I know Midsummer is the first, but it is produced very often. There are a lot of great film adaptations. But I think that there's still a lot to mine in it. And one of the most interesting things for me is the B plot of Much Ado. I honestly believe that Beatrice and Benedict are actually the A plot, even though they're considered the B plot. I believe that they have the most engaging arc throughout the production. I think that you have to have a strong hero and a strong Claudio to actually make the play work. But if you don't have a strong Beatrice and a strong Benedict as well, then you're losing out on this incredible core component of the production. And to that end, the scenes that I have adapted really are just 3 scenes that are tracing the Beatrice and Benedict arc. A couple of things to contextualize for everyone before we get this this first scene in the original language underway. What you need to know about the play is that it is centering around Hero and Claudio's romance and Beatrice and Benedict's romance, and really that's what the play is basically about. Is these 2 sets of lovers and the different circumstances that are keeping them apart. At the very beginning, we're arriving in Messina in Italy. And we've already moved through the exposition of this play by the time we start our first scene, and we're focusing on a party that Leonardo, the sort of like the father figure in the production, as Shakespeare often implements, is hosting a party in the original to celebrate the fact that Pedro, Claudio, and their soldier Benedict have returned successfully from war. On the opposite side of this war was Don John and some of his compatriots. So Don John is Don Pedro's illegitimate brother. So obviously this is creating some strife because Don John, being a family member, is still invited to functions is still, much like the wealthy do today with business. The wealthy sort of treated war in much the same way in Shakespeare's day and age. So you could go to war with a brother, but as long as you were at the right level of wealth, it really did sort of amount to a business transaction more than an actual physical fight. So what you need to know moving into this first scene, Act 2, Scene 1, is that we've already established many of the characters' relationships. We've established that Claudio has the hots for Hero, and has laid to work a plan to have, because he is sort of embarrassed of doing it himself. He feels that he won't execute it adequately. Has put to the task Don Pedro, the prince, to woo Hero for him. Benedict and Beatrice already have established a very quippy relationship. They are often trading barbs with each other, and more often than not, Beatrice is winning. So as we go into this first scene, we are at a masquerade party hosted by Leonardo, being attended by those cast members noted, the primary members of the cast. And after we've run the scene, obviously we'll be available to answer any quick questions about that, and then we'll transition into the modern. So those of you that aren't as familiar can maybe get an understanding of what was just discussed, what the engagement just meant that we all witnessed. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my actors, because really at this point, my job is mostly done. I get to just sit here and talk, and they're going to do all of the heavy lifting for me.
Oop, hold on, just give me a moment. All right, continue.
Will you not tell me who told you so?
No, you shall pardon me.
Nor will you not tell me who you are?
Not now.
That I was disdainful and that I had my good wit out of the 100 merry tales. Well, this was Signor Benedict that said so.
What's he?
I am sure you know him well enough.
Not I. Believe me.
Did he never make you laugh?
I pray you, what is he?
Why? He is the prince's jester. A very dull fool. Only his gift is in devising impossible slanders. None but libertines delight in him, and the commendation is not in his wit, but in his villainy. For he both pleases men and angers them, and then they laugh at him and beat him. I am sure he is in the fleet. I would he had boarded me.
When I know the gentleman, I'll tell him what you say.
Do. He'll but break a comparison or two on me, which, peradventure, not marked or not laughed at, strikes him into melancholy. And there's a partridge wing saved, for the fool will eat no supper that night. We must follow the leaders.
In every good thing.
Nay, if they lead to any ill, I will leave them at the next turning.
Sure, my brother is amorous on Hero, and hath withdrawn her father to break with him about it. The ladies follow her, and but one visor remains.
And that is Claudio. I know him by his bearing.
Are you not Signor Benedict?
You know me well. I am he.
Signor, you are very near my brother in his love. He is enamored on Hero. I pray you, dissuade him from her. She is no equal for his birth. You may do the part of an honest man in it.
How know you he loves her?
I heard him swear his affection.
So did I too, and he swore he would marry her tonight.
Come, let us to the banquet.
thus answer in the name of Benedict. But I hear these ill news with the ears of Claudio. 'Tis certain so the prince woos for himself. Friendship is constant in all other things, save in the office and affairs of love. Therefore, all hearts in love use their own tongues. Let every eye negotiate for itself, and trust no agent, for beauty is a witch, against whose charms faith melteth into blood. This is an accident of hourly proof, which I mistrusted not. Farewell, therefore, hero.
And Claudia?
Yeah, the same.
Come. Will you go with me?
Whither?
Even to the next willow. About your own business, County. What fashion will you wear the garland of about your neck, like a usurer's chain, or under your arm, like a lieutenant's scarf? You must wear it one way, for the prince hath got your hero.
I wish him joy of her.
Well, that's spoken like an honest drovier. So they sell bullocks. But did you think the prince would have served you thus?
I pray you leave me.
Oh, now you strike like the blind man. 'Twas the boy that stole your meat, and you'll beat the post.
If it will not be, I'll leave you.
All right.
All right, fantastic. Are there any questions on, what we did with that first production?
It might take a while for a question to
Okay.
spawn. So
Okay, great.
if there are, we'll ask them after the modern interpretation. that.
Fantastic. Well, what everyone needs to know going into this modern interpretation is that we did change a few things. In my mind, if we're modernizing this, Claudio is not attempting to marry Hero. Instead, something that's still a little bit quick by modern relationship standards, but it not necessarily unfamiliar. Is Claudio is he's trying to woo Hero. They've been online dating, and now they want to move in together. Is the idea, right? So instead of like letters exchanged during this war that's leading up to sort of the Shakespearean marriage proposal, instead what we have is two individuals who've been online dating, forming this connection, and now they're meeting, and Claudio really wants to ask Hero to move in with him, but he's getting nervous about it, and so he's put Pedro to the task. What's also important to note for Beatrice and Benedict is that in my conception of Beatrice and Benedict's relationship, they have already been having a long running physical relationship. Most interpretations of this production take Beatrice and Benedict as potentially of having had some sort of relationship in the past, and then that went sour, and now they're just constantly in this sort of battle of wits. In my conception, there's some other directors that have done this. Joss Whedon notably did this for his film. Benedict and Beatrice are engaged in a physical relationship. They're just not open about it with anyone around them. They're not putting labels on it, right? And they still have this very sort of barbarous interactions, barbarous as in barbed, not barbarous as in barbarian. I think that is going to be all the context folks need, though, to actually understand what's going on in this modern scene. And for anybody who was maybe confused by what you just heard in the original, I'm really hoping what this is going to do for you is sort of seat that Shakespearean language, and make help a lot of you realize that it's not quite as as distant from our thoughts, from our ideas, from the way we speak, as we are often taught or sometimes led to believe. Ryan, if you don't have anything else to add, I'm just going to hand it over once again to my capable actors.
All right. I am ready to begin. I'm going to turn off my camera.
told you that. Oh, also, we're both vaccinated, right?
Come on. I already said I'm not telling you. And yeah, of course.
Well, at least tell me who you are.
I will not.
He said that I'm a bitch.
I didn't say he's
That I'm rude then, and that all my best jokes are recycled from Twitter. Benedict.
Who?
I am quite sure you know who he is.
I really don't.
What? You haven't heard his jokes?
Why don't you tell me who he is?
Why? He's the funny man in the entourage. Absolute tool. All he does is talk mad shit. And only the incels laugh at his jokes. And it's not because he's funny. They're just assholes. And he's making fun of them half the time. He gets his ass kicked just as much as he gets a laugh. And I know he's here. Pretty sure he just stepped on my foot.
Well, I'll pass it on once I've met him.
Please do. That asshole will try to snipe back, but when nobody listens and nobody laughs, he'll cry. As usual, which should make dinner all the more pleasant, him being too miserable to eat. Come on now, we've got to follow the leaders.
As we should always.
Absolutely fucking not, statist.
My brother is taking that hero chick down for sure. He's even getting in good with her dad. All the chicks left with her. Just the one dude left.
Oh, that's Claudio. I'd know him anywhere.
Hmm. Is that Benedict? These fucking masks, man.
Oh, damn, good guess.
Oh,
Look, man, I think you're closer to my brother than even me. He is down bad on Hero. You gotta talk to your boy. She's not good enough at all for him. You'd be doing me a huge solid.
Where's all this coming from, man?
I heard him talk about her. All he can think about.
I heard it too. Boy is ready to rent a U-Haul.
Come on, they're serving the food.
Yep.
I asked as Benedict. I got to hear us myself. They would have lied otherwise. I can't even fucking blame him, my friend. What is being my friend compared to her? I should have just told her how I feel. I should have shown her how I see her. How could I expect anyone else not to see her, talk to her, and not fall for her? Oldest mistake in the book, and I guess I forgot how to read. Goodbye, Hero.
Claudia?
Yeah, that's me.
Come on, my guy, we gotta go.
Where?
To the tree, man. The willow, you know? Come on. Fix yourself up. You look disheveled. You going with the dashing prince or the brave soldier look? You gotta pick since Pedro got your hero.
I wish all the best for him with her.
Well, that's spoken like an honest farmer. Selling bullshit. Do you really think Pedro would do that to you?
Just leave me.
You're striking blind. You're hitting everything but your target.
Well, if you won't leave, then I will.
All right, everybody come back.
Everybody come back on. All right, all right, all right. So I hope that anybody that maybe lost anything in that original language began to get a little bit better idea of what this production and what this play really was about, because Shakespeare really was basically writing a play about like like rich people making very big problems out of nothing, making mountains out of molehills. And like I don't think that's something that is unfamiliar to any of us, right? Is the exorbitantly wealthy blowing things way out of proportion. Um, so I think that it's still relatable. That a lot of us can still laugh at this main couple, Hero and Claudio, having these relationship foibles, these issues, these problems, while you have Beatrice and Benedict, who are kind of more the still not necessarily working class, right? But maybe lower on the totem pole, having this very quippy, very intelligent banter back and forth. Um, so yeah, I see, Ryan, that we do have some questions in the chat. Do we want to go ahead and address those now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and address that question. So Beara asks, practicing and doing these readings remotely, how did you find the play shift or adapt to the medium?
Sure. So, I mean, I can answer that, but then I'd also love for any of the actors to dive into that as well. So, I mean, a big part of it, right, is there is no, you can't do as much with blocking, right? So, a lot of what you're having to do is sort of, intimate specific ideas, and then of course work with all y'all's out there suspension of disbelief, which is a thing we're very comfortable with, all enjoying theater, enjoying LARP and other nerdy pursuits. But in this case, it's sort of it's a little bit of a combination of theater of the mind with a traditional play backdrop. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it was both harder and easier in some ways. You don't have to think about the blocking, but as a result, you definitely have to make your little things, make your expressions, make your posture matter all that much more, because that's what people are going to be focusing on, and that's all they have to work with.
Um, I know on my end, just producing Breaking Bard, one of the things that stuck with me was I have watched other Shakespeare's on Zoom or on YouTube, and the one thing that always bugged me was that when you have huge casts and you can't tell who's speaking because everyone is on the entire time, and I'm like, wait, who's Romeo, who's what? And so one of the things that has become a part of Breaking Bard is that substituting for scenes, we actually just have actors turn on and turn off their camera to represent you are in this scene. And it goes a long way to helping figure out who's actually speaking and who's in the scene. Rather than, and I've seen Romeo and Juliet with 20 people on screen, and my brain is like, I can't watch this. I want to support it. I can't watch it because I don't know who's Romeo.
And then I see also Frosty asked us sort of a follow up to this question, and so I think I can and noted that it somewhat got answered in the previous question. I had considered having someone narrate stage directions, maybe even potentially doing it myself. I really felt like, at least for this one, that a it wasn't necessary, and b, sort of when I was initially trying to write it, sort of pulled me out of it, made me feel less like I didn't feel like I got to actually see the dialogue flow. And so much of Shakespeare is in the language, that I really just felt like with that camera on, camera off entrances, and the work that the actors are putting forth in their expression and their posture, and some of the movement they're doing on frame, they're making up for that lack of distinct direction, and allowing the scene to remain sort of its own little reality for a moment.
Ashley, I think you were going to say something in regards to the previous question about how your experience.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing because I feel that Much Ado has a lot of physical comedy in it, right? Particularly in the next scene, which, no spoilers, right? But So it's been kind of interesting to like, how do you show that we're hiding when you have just a screen? Or like, how do you play to the side versus to someone else on stage? It's very difficult to make like moon eyes at Derek when I could be making moon eyes at anyone on a screen, right? So it's been kind of interesting and an ongoing struggle, but we play in the medium that we're playing in.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I think really quick, I do want to do a sort of where we are in the play
Okay.
before we move on to the next one, since there is some action that happens. So one of the big things is between this Act 2 Scene 1 and Act 3 Scene 1, the next scene that we're going to be doing, the issue between Claudio and Pedro gets resolved. Claudio figures out that Pedro actually was wooing on his behalf. In the original language, asks Hiro to marry him. Hiro agrees. Pedro wants to do it, or Claudio wants to do it immediately. But Pedro convinces him that it's going to take at least a week for them to get a marriage together, a wedding together. So in the meantime, Claudio and Pedro, and then Hiro and Ursula, decide that in order to pass the time, this week while they wait in anguish for this wedding, that they are going to trick Beatrice and Benedict, either in generally the original take, into actually falling in love with each other, or in my conception, just actually being open about it. I think there is a lot of textual support for that interpretation, even in the original language, and it's a really fun way to play it. And then the other big thing is that Don John is not happy that he didn't, like, he only sowed a little bit of chaos, and so he concocts a plan to interrupt the marriage further. But we'll get into that and how that plan actually falls out after this next scene. So what you need to know at this point is that Claudio and Hiro are in the original on the way to their wedding. In the modern interpretation, getting set to move in together. And Beatrice and Benedict are actively being plotted against in order to be tricked into A, in the original, falling in love, or B, in the modern interpretation, revealing their love to everyone. Even in my interpretation of the original language, we're still going with that effect. So I think that's all that needs to come out of my mouth about this, and the rest you actually get to hear from our actors.
All right, I get to be Ursula. Let me spell that
Do indeed.
correctly. Use screen name and
Good Margaret, run thee to the parlor. There shalt thou find my cousin Beatrice proposing with the prince and Claudio. Whisper her ear and tell her I and Ursula walk in the orchard, and our whole discourse is all of her. Say that thou overheardst us, and bid her steal into the pleached bower where honeysuckles, ripened by the sun, forbid the sun to enter, like favorites made proud by princes that advance their pride against the power that bred it. There will she hide to listen our purpose. This is thy office. Bear thee well in it, and leave us alone.
I'll make her come. I warrant you, presently.
Now, Ursula, when Beatrice doth come, as we do trace this alley up and down, our talk must only be of Benedict. When I do name him, Let it be thy part to praise him more than ever man did merit. My talk to thee must be how Benedict is sick in love with Beatrice. Of this matter is little Cupid's crafty arrow made that only wounds by hearsay. Oh, now begin. For look where Beatrice, like a lapwing, runs close by the ground to hear our conference.
The pleasantest angling is to see the fish cut with her golden oars the silver stream and greedily devour the treacherous bait. So angle we for Beatrice, who even now is couched in the woodbine coverture. Fear you not my part of the dialogue.
Then we go near her, that her ear lose nothing of the false sweet bait that we laid for it. No, truly, Ursula, she is too disdainful. I know her spirits are as coy and wild as haggards of the rock.
But are you sure that Benedict loves Beatrice so entirely?
So says the prince and my new betrothed lord.
And did they bid you tell her of it, madam?
They did entreat me to acquaint her of it, but I persuaded them. If they loved Benedict, to wish him wrestle with affection and never let Beatrice know of it.
Why did you so? Doth not the gentleman deserve as full, as fortunate a bed as Beatrice shall couch upon?
Oh, God of love, I know he doth deserve as much as may be yielded to a man. But nature never framed a woman's heart of prouder stuff than that of Beatrice. Disdain and scorn ride sparkling in her eyes, misprizing what they look on, and her wit values itself so highly that to her all matter else seems weak. She cannot love. Nor take no shape nor project of affection. She is so self-endeared.
Sure, I think so. And therefore, certainly, it were not good she knew his love, lest she'll make sport at it.
Why, you speak truth. I never yet saw man, how wise, how noble, young, how rarely featured, but she would spell him backwards. If fair-faced, she would swear the gentleman should be her sister. If black, why, nature, drawing of an antic, made a foul blot. If tall, a lance, ill-headed. If low, an agate, very vilely cut. If silent, why, a block moved to no winds, and if speaking, a vein blown by all of them. So turns she, every man, the wrong side out, and never gives to truth and virtue that which simpleness and merit purchaseth.
Sure, such carping is not commendable.
No, not to be so odd and far from all fashion as Beatrice is not commendable. But who dare tell her so? If I should speak, she would mock me into air. Oh, she would laugh me out of myself, press me to death with wit. Oh, therefore, let Benedict, like covered fire, consume away in sighs, waste inwardly. It were a better death than to die with mocks, which is as bad as die with tickling.
Yet tell her of it. Hear what she will say.
No, rather I will go to Benedict and counsel him to fight against his passion. And truly, I'll devise some honest slanders to stain my cousin with. One doth not know how an ill word can empoison liking.
Oh, do not do your cousin such a wrong. She cannot be so much without true judgment, having so swift and excellent a wit as she is prized to have, as to refuse so rare a gentleman as Senor Benedict.
He is the only man of Italy. Always accepted, my dear Claudio.
I pray you not be angry with me, madam. Speaking my fancy, Senor Benedict, for shape, for bearing, for argument, and valor, goes foremost in report through Italy.
Indeed, he hath an excellent good name.
His excellence did earn it ere he had it. When are you married, madam?
Why, every day, tomorrow. Come, go in. I'll show you some attires and have thy counsel which is best to furnish me tomorrow.
She's limed, I warrant you. We have caught her, madam.
If it proves so, then loving goes by haps. Some Cupid kills with arrows, some with traps.
What fire is in my ears? Can this be true? Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt, farewell, and maiden bride, adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And Benedict? Love on. I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hands. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in holy band. For others' faith thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly.
All right, fantastic. Now, really quick before we move on to Act 3, Scene 1 in the modern,
Mhm.
I just want to talk like just very briefly on what I was trying to key into with this modern arrangement, this modern language adaptation. I really wanted to highlight that the fact that for me in this production. Hero is actually every bit as clever and as witty as Beatrice. She is. She is just chosen in many ways to like occupy a more traditional space, and so much like modern movements in feminism, get is a little bit frustrated that Beatrice is like condemning her for wanting to get married, wanting to have a happy relationship in our modern adaptation, wanting to move in with this gentleman, and the fact that Beatrice, for so long, Hero has had this concept of what she wants. And Beatrice has had all of these gorgeous men come, and is constantly turning them down. For Hero's part and for a lot of other parts, all of these lists of qualities that she's going over about these men that come to her, right? I mean, it boils down to they're not Benedict. Um, so with that, that's all I think I need to add to go into this modern. The actors are going to do the rest of the job for contextualizing it. So I'm going to go camera off.
Margaret, get Beatrice for me. Tell her Ursula and I are gossiping about her. She's inside speaking with Claudio and Pedro. Tell her you overheard us and that she should sneak into the arbor. She can hide there and eavesdrop on our conversation. This is your job. Do it well, and then you can take off for the day.
I'll make her come right away, ma'am. Just you watch.
All right, Ursula. As Beatrice arrives, we'll be walking up and down this alley and speaking about nothing but Benedict. Whenever I mention him, praise him more than any man deserves. It'll be my job to talk about how Benedict is sick in love for Beatrice. Gossip and rumor, truly the very stuff of love. Oh, let's start. See, Beatrice has run over like a little bird. We shouldn't have to be too loud at all.
My favorite part of any plan is watching the mark take the bait.
Let's get closer so she can hear all the false sweet bait we're setting for her. No, truly, Ursula, she's way too bitchy. She's a damn hawk. Poor boy would lose his fingers.
But are you sure that Benedict loves Beatrice that much?
That's what Claudio and Pedro say.
And did they ask you to tell Beatrice about this?
Well, they did want me to tell her, but I persuaded them that if they truly loved Benedict, they would try to keep him as far away from Beatrice as possible.
Why did you do that? Doesn't Benedict deserve to find love?
Oh, he deserves all that a man might possess. But nature never made a woman's heart as proud and tough as Beatrice's. There's scorn in her eyes, and those same eyes despise everything that they look upon. She values her wit more highly than anything, which makes everything else a bit pale by comparison. She's so in love with herself that she's incapable of loving anybody else. She can't even imagine what love is.
Yes, sure, you're right. It would be bad if she knew about Benedict's love and ruined that man.
It's true. And whenever she meets a man, no matter how wise, noble, young, handsome, she rearranges all his good qualities so they end up looking bad. Doesn't matter if he's pretty, too pretty for me, she'll say. Doesn't matter if he's fit. She doesn't want a man stronger than her, she'll say. Doesn't matter if he's tall, too tall by far, she'll exclaim. Doesn't matter if he's the same height. Who would want a man just as tall as I am, she'd say. And short men? Well, she'd declare that her back would hurt from having to bend over.
You're right, of course. She does complain too much, and she is way too picky.
Oh, but who would dare tell her? If I said something, she would mock me so mercilessly that I would probably disintegrate into air. She'd laugh me right out of my body and just kill me with her wit. So Benedict should conceal his emotions. Like a fire that gets covered up, Benedict should smother his love and waste away. It would be better to die that way than to die from the shame her bullying would elicit.
But should you tell her? Maybe she really loves him.
No. Instead, I'll go to Benedict and advise him to fight his emotions. I'll just tell him some of her more cringe moments and ruin her reputation. You don't know how quickly affection can be killed with a single nasty word.
Oh, no, you didn't. Don't do your cousin dirty like that. With the quick, intelligent wit she's rumored to have, she can't really be such a bad judge of character that she'd refuse Benedict.
He is the only worthy man in Italy. Oh, aside from my dear Claudio.
Well, don't be angry with me for speaking my mind, but throughout Italy, Benedict is considered the best man in looks, class, intelligence, and bravery.
True. He has an excellent reputation.
And he deserves it, having been excellent before he had a reputation for it. When are you moved in again?
Tomorrow, and then every day after that. Come on, let's go inside. I want to show you some clothing so you can tell me what I should wear tomorrow.
Girl! We caught her in our trap. I'm sure of it.
You never know how love is going to get you. For some, they set their sights. For others, we lay traps.
Yes.
Fuck me, this is embarrassing. Surely this isn't true. This sounds like some straight misogyny. Sure, I'm proud of being my own woman, but that doesn't mean I'm opposed to a cishet relationship. God, is this what people are saying about me behind my back? I mean, maybe I do love Benedict. Maybe him loving me is enough. I'll be kind to him from now on. And if he really does love me, well, we'll see, I suppose. People say that you deserve my love, and I believe it. And not just because they've said so.
All right,
All right,
everyone, I
everybody
believe-
come back in.
Yeah, that was awesome. So Really quickly, I just definitely want to like play up there the fact that like I had said, it is important for this production to go off for a production of Much Ado to really work, for Hero to have that streak of cleverness, and so like you can see it, if you're familiar with Shakespeare, in the way he's written Hero, especially in this scene. But I think that bringing it into that modern language makes it really clear that she's just as witty, that she's just as good at those barbs. She's just sort of chosen a different role, in life for herself, right? She's decided that she wants to move forward with like sort of this traditional relationship, and she's a romantic. And Beatrice is basically over here calling her a trad wife, right? So like, and so you definitely get those moments in this scene where Hero's going a little off script, and starting to dig into some of her actual feelings about Beatrice, as opposed to just continue moving forward with the plan. um yeah. Was there anything that you guys wanted to add about this, the switch over to the modern language, or about the scene in general?
I really like the way that you translated it, because I think that Hero so often does get thrown away as an ingenue, and that she's just viewed as the like perfect little wife, and that this scene becomes entirely about like Beatrice's reactions, and sometimes the meaning behind this language does get lost. I like it's really one of those that I view Beatrice as like so much faster than Hero is in the moment, and like Hero's the one who thinks later like, oh, I should have said that comeback, like I have the perfect line now, but like can never say it to Beatrice's face. And I mean, they're so close that it's been their like entire life. Hero has played the like slightly less intelligent, like the younger sister, and as a younger sister to an extraordinary older sister, I can totally relate.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean you definitely do get some of that familial resentment, right? And and at the time, cousins, as Hero and Beatrice would have had much more of that younger sister older sister dynamic, right? And honestly, like, I think if I were to do a full modern production, there might be some weight to actually just making them sisters in a full on modern, because it's so rare for many of us to live with our cousins, to grow up right next to our cousins. I mean, there's definitely some people that are fortunate in that, right? Like I was fortunate in that I got to live very close to two of my cousins all of my young life. But that's not a common American experience. Our families are often disparate and spread out all over the country. Um, and so I think it does carry some more of that weight to, because they would have had in Shakespeare's conception, they would have had that sort of sister like relationship, because they would have been raised together, in the same home. So moving past this scene, as we progress into the play, to sort of contextualize, because we basically jump from this point to the end of the play basically, because I wanted to get that narrative Beatrice and Benedict arc. And the big things to know are that basically immediately after this scene, uh, Benedict comes in, showing all the signs of having been fooled by Claudio and Pedro's efforts. In Shakespeare's time, he had a clean shaven face, and basically was cleaning himself up, right? And then as soon as he exits and seems to sort of like have like really like bought into all it, and be like, well, okay, I guess I'm moving things forward with Beatrice, right? Which works in the modern adaptation as well just fine. Like, you know here's a guy who, in my conception of Benedict, he would have been open to this relationship being out in the open this entire, like, he was like whatever Beatrice is gonna give me, and like, you know, speaks disparagingly of love as more of like a guard than an earnest take on like romanticism and his own feelings. And so, you know, at this point, like he's just bought into it. He's just like, oh, like, great, like, okay, she wants to do the thing too, right? Now, what happens from this point is Don John, in the original language production, in the original production, Don John and Baraccio fool Claudio and Pedro by Baraccio basically sneaking into Hero's room, her bedchamber, and in a lot of productions, you know, he's shown basically getting super handsy and you know, even like getting physically affectionate and even sleeping with what turns out to be Hero's, you know, chambermaid, right? So Claudio and Pedro buy it because it's Shakespeare, and so you can just, you know, turn a person around and suddenly they're whoever you say they are, right? um and if I were to do this full production, I think probably what we would probably do something similar. They'd be seen from across a lake. You know, she's wearing some of Hero's clothing, whatever it may be. But instead of having you know, Hero die, like kill herself out of shame, having this be, because that is the concept in the original play, is that Hero is so ashamed, Leonardo casts her out of his house, and she kills herself, right? Except really what happens is that uh, uh, through some bumbling constables and Dogberry's efforts, it's discovered that Don John and Baraccio cooked this scheme up. Leonardo comes to Hero and apologizes, and then they concoct a plan to get Claudio back, which involves you know, Hero faking her own death, which, you know, is very Shakespearean, but not a very modern take. And so, were we to update this entire play, I would imagine that Hero has a pretty good social media following her romantic takes, her sort of, you know, witty woman who still has this sort of traditional mindset around relationships, and then gets outed on Twitter as actually engaging in an affair, you know, the week before she moves in with her monogamous partner, and so gets canceled on Twitter. So she doesn't die; she gets canceled on Twitter, and then sort of secludes herself in shame. In the original production, Leonardo, well, first of all, Benedict actually challenges Claudio and Pedro to a duel on behalf of Beatrice. So they actually they talk about their feelings for each other. Beatrice insists that he duel Claudio because Hero is dead. That doesn't turn out because the reveal, like, you know, they get brought in on the plan. And so of course Benedict's like, well, I can't. All right, I mean, I can't duel this man over a woman that's not actually dead. But they have to maintain this sort of fiction. So Beatrice winds up mad at Benedict again, as, as sort of their cycle, right? And we come into this last scene in the original conception with Claudio having agreed to marry Leonardo's brother's daughter. So Leonardo's another one of Leonardo's nieces, just because she looks like Hero. And I think what we would do, were we to modernize this, we'd be saying that Leonardo's found another roommate for Claudio, because Claudio really does need a roommate, right? Rent's expensive. He needs somebody to move in there with him. And he's like, well, I think I found a girl that like you'd probably end up liking, and you know, you'd be roommates, and then maybe something will spark. And it turns out that it's Hero all along. We did get a question in chat there from Veara. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah. I think what we're gonna do is because we're so long between scenes, let's get into this final scene,
Sure.
and then
Yeah,
we'll
and then
answer that
answer any
question
questions.
immediately after.
That sounds good to me.
Mhm.
All right. Well, now I get to stop talking and turn it over to you folks. So
soft and fair, Freya. Which is Beatrice?
I answer to that name. What is your will?
Do not you love me?
Why no? No more than reason.
Why then, your uncle and the prince and Claudio have been deceived. They swore you did.
Do you not love me?
Troth, no. No more than reason.
Why then, my cousin, Margaret, and Ursula are much deceived, for they did swear you did.
They swore that you were almost sick for me.
They swore that you were well nigh dead for me.
'Tis no such matter. Then you do not love me.
No, truly, but in friendly recompense.
Come, cousin, I am sure you love the gentleman.
I'll be swart upon that he loves her. For here's a paper written in his hand, a halting sonnet of his own pure brain, fashioned to Beatrice.
And here's another, writ in my cousin's hand, stolen from her pocket, containing her affection unto Benedict.
A miracle. Here's our own hands against our hearts. Come, I will have thee, but by this light I take thee for pity.
I would not deny you, but by this good day, I yield upon great persuasion and partly to save your life, for I was told you were in a consumption.
Peace. I will stop your mouth.
Mwah.
Fabulous.
The logistics of trying to get a kiss on Zoom.
It's- yes, it is a hard one to translate. I think that's one where I may cave and yeah, just they kiss. I think that works perfectly fine for that one, and conveys it. So as we go into the modern, I already noted that the big updates are Beatrice and Benedict are not getting married right now. Just they're not just snapping into a marriage. They are just accepting that their relationship is going to be open, that they're actually going to be out with the world about the fact that they have feelings for each other and that they are in a relationship. And although we're not touching on it, Hero and Claudio have agreed to move in with each other. So without further ado, we will go into this last scene, the last modern translation.
All right.
Wait a moment. Which one of you two is Beatrice?
What do you want?
Do you love me?
No? No more than is reasonable for friends?
Leonardo, Pedro, and Claudio sure were fooled then. They swore you did.
Do you love me?
No. No more than is reasonable.
Well, then my cousin, Margaret, and Ursula have been very much fooled themselves, for they swore you did.
They swore you were sick with love for me.
They swore that you were nearly dead with love for me.
Oh, so you don't love me.
No, I don't. Except as a friend.
Beatrice, for fuck's sake, we all know that you love him.
And I've got proof that Benedict practically swoons. Here's a very bad but incredibly cute tweet he wrote her.
And here's proof of the other, a really quite lovely poem that Beatrice composed on Benedict's pretty face.
Okay. Look, sure, I've been tweeting, and it seems like you've been writing as well. Okay, I'll take you, but honestly, I'm only doing it out of pity.
Look, this is a yes, okay, but let it be known that I'm only doing this after a lot of persuasion and to save your life. I hear you were quickly wasting away without me.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Mwah.
They kiss.
The real kiss is on OnlyFans.
Ooh. Hey.
Wow, that such a kiss.
Oh man. All right. So that is going to bring us to the last scene of the evening. Yeah. Thank you to all of the. I mean, we're not going anywhere yet. We're gonna stick around and talk and answer questions. But I have to say, thank you to my cast. Because what would the play be without you guys? So, really, I cannot stress enough that the heavy lifting was on the actors. It was a lot of me getting to jump on Zoom calls and watch everybody play with the language and play with the modern text and find the things I liked that they were doing and just point those things out and tell them to do it more, right? Which a little secret is a lot of stage direction. Is just telling your actors to go and then being like, I liked that bit, I didn't like that bit, do more of that first bit, okay? And that's why it's so important to get a great cast and to get folks that identify with the characters and are able to live in them. Yeah, so
Let's go ahead and answer Vieira's question. What did you find to be the most difficult scene / feature to modernize in this play?
sure. So I think the most difficult thing, right, was just making sure that I had gone through and got all references to like marriage to like as I adapted it into the modern text. It like you know I don't necessarily think that Shakespeare is extremely hard to adapt to modern text. I think it can be extremely hard to do it well. I that's why I only did a mediocre job. But uh, but what I yeah. So really, it was going through and making sure. That I had contextualized all of the modern references with the updates to the overall plot, because there were lots of times where I was going through with the modern text, and I have the actors to thank for this a lot as well, and catching things that I was like, oh, that was, I missed that as I was updating the language. I just did basically, a 1-to-1 and modernized it instead of bringing in the context from the evolved modern plot that had been crafted around these three scenes. And so just really seating it in that sort of the modern vision of the play as a whole, and ensuring that everything was continuous and contiguous and actually fit in that world.
Mm-hmm. Mm, like I was curious, like just to segue a little bit, Ashley, as you directed Macbeth, in that, like, what did you find to be a difficult scene or difficult feature to modernize in Macbeth when you were directing your play?
I found it really hard to modernize some of the like most iconic lines and the lines that make the most sense in my head, right? So like from my mother's womb untimely ripped was real hard because there's no like better way to say that, right? Or when something just like made perfect one across sense. So I almost like cheated in a different way, as I, rather than just translating it, gave everything like a twist so that I wasn't just translating it across. Because when I tried to just kind of translate it across, it just like read like Shakespeare without the iambic pentameter. It was just like if he wasn't talented. And I was like, well, that's not cute. So let's try and do something here. I think Max did a great job on modernizing this, because quite often things do get lost in Much Ado, and particularly in the like anything that's not Benedict and Beatrice, really.
Mhm. So I want to ask the rest of the cast: was there anything that you may have learned in this particular iteration of doing Much Ado About Nothing as a Zoom play, at least scenes of Zoom?
I just loved getting Max's interpretations of the scenes. They really put a new twist for me. The one that I loved in particular was the masquerade scene. And, Max took me aside and said, "Oh, Beatrice knows it's Benedict. She's making fun of him to his face." And suddenly that whole scene where I was just shitting on Benedict, that was, that was fun. I was making fun of him to his face and I was having so much fun with it. And just hearing that interpretation, it really puts a new light on things.
I will say that as Ursula, because am familiar with Much Ado About Nothing, the one with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. It's like that lives rent free in my brain because I love their performance so much. But Ursula is often thought of as I'm chiming in with what Hero is saying, but this is the first time where I'm actively calling Hero out in my own little way of you're going a little too far. It's like I know you're trying to bait Beatrice, but you don't go on for 5 whole sentences on how horrible she is if you didn't actually kind of mean it.
No, that was a really fun one, and having you and Ashley doing it together, like I was saying, so much of the work that I did on this and from the directors that I learned was just like letting my actors play, and then punching up the things that were like super solid and I wanted to see, and like that's the fun thing, right? Is when actors are playing, like none of it, like it's very rare that any of it's just like flat out bad. It doesn't always like match the director's conception of what they want, and so they might cut things out. They might push for certain reactions to be more prominent or prevalent, because in their mind that lends itself better to their interpretation of the production. But it was just so much fun for me to work with all of y'all, and get a chance to see you play and see you bring yourselves to this production and to the characters, and then get to get in there and tinker around a little bit and be like, okay, let's let's punch up this element, this one is good, but it doesn't work for this interpretation. But yeah, so for me, like, so much of the production itself, and even some of my modern language adaptation was built on the backs of all of these folks and the work that they were doing, and so just a very collaborative effort. Frosty, we're not in a theater. It's fine. You could say the Mackers word. I'm still not, but you
We can call it the Scottish play.
or Mackers.
Fine.
Yeah,
Tragedy.
Mackers, that bloody show.
yeah, that bloody show.
I guess the reason why I do say Macbeth out loud is because I think Zoom is a different form of a theater, and also because it's breaking Bard Macbeth. Like I try to do address it by their names, right?
Mhm.
And I guess maybe it's like the production side of me. It's like I think if you put it in a production context, it's fine. But if you are an actor performing Macbeth, I wouldn't say the M word. But as a producer producing it, I would, because I'm a producer.
Well, and you gotta, I mean, like, how is anybody gonna know what the, like, if you're a producer, you've actually got to think about what the audience is coming in to see. And if you
Right.
tell, 100 people, hey, we're putting on Mackers tonight, you might get 40 of them that are immediately like, oh, hell yeah, there's Scottish play, let's come do it. But there's gonna be 60 people out there that are like, what is Mackers? Is this is this like a new Tom Stoppard play? What are we doing? Like,
Is this
yeah.
Bernie Mac? Is this
Eh.
macaroni and cheese? Is this what? Is this
I would
the?
watch a play about macaroni and cheese.
I would 100% watch Tom Stoppard's macaroni and cheese take on the Scottish plague. Like,
Oh,
I need
yeah.
that right now.
Sign me up.
There
Now I
needs-
kind of
there-
want to know, like, what is the macaroni and cheese version of Macbeth? Like, what would this involve?
Needs to be a musical.
Oh, oh, Jarek, what you just flashed something? What did you just flash?
Oh, that was me when you were asking if people had learned anything. So I got to revisit Claudio, but about 30 years passed when I first saw Claudio. And I remember thinking when I was young, I was like, oh, Claudio's obviously this dashing kind of hero. And then when you play with a little bit more experience on your belt, I remember thinking, I was like, oh, he's a little whiny and naive, just a touch. And so then I got to the point where I thought, next time if I ever get to play Claudio again, I'm going to play him like Herbert from Monty
Oh my
Python and the
God.
Holy Grail. That's how I want to do it.
Yes. Yes.
I want to mention curtains, and I want him to sing to Hero as much as possible.
100%. Yeah, I think that the play reads a lot better when you do, like, you know, these are not serious people's problems. These are you know, wealthy young adults and teenagers problems, you know, which, like, a lot of Shakespeare is focused on, because so much of his work was, you know, appealing to the base, and like poor people love to laugh at rich people. Like, it's great. Speaking from experience, it's fantastic. Yeah. And so, you know, and you think about like what most of Shakespeare's, you know, like, his audience was largely not wealthy people, you know. It was you know, the penny pit was just filled with commoners all of the time. This was, you know, this would not have been considered high art. It was lowbrow humor. I mean, that's why there's so many dick jokes in it.
It's
like-
also
That was one
it's-
of the most fun parts of going through that scene, was just being like, hey, Max, like, do you want this to be like a hella dick joke? Because, like, I could make this about Benedict's abilities, his valor.
yeah.
Valor.
as-
we keyed into valor as being
Yeah.
has a lot of valor.
just huge tracts of land, you know? And
Huge
so
tracts.
it was really
Fall
fun
back.
to just like get to lean into the
There's a
dick
reason
joke.
Beatrice likes him.
I mean, when you talk about, like, you know, rich people's problems, it's in the name of the play. Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah, even the title is a sex joke.
Yep. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because nothing is close to what was the word? It was like knotting or noting, and so, like, there are so many. I mean, like, the fun thing about Shakespeare is, like, just friggin' layers, and if you it gives you a lot to play with, like an onion, man.
So wait a minute. So there's an alternative title to Nothing, which is Notting. So basically, this is Much Ado About Fucking, is what we're hearing.
Well, so the nodding is gossip, rumor, or overhearing. But then
Right.
there's also a second element to it, which is much ado about nothing. So a big deal about a small thing, right?
Mhm.
And so and then, like, yeah, and then it cascades from there. But yes, also in a sense, much ado about fucking.
Gossip and rumor, truly the things of love, right?
Yeah. We have a question from Coffee Guild. You guys did amazing. Question for anyone: is there a favorite scene from the play or a line that didn't make it into this cut you wish you could have done, and why?
Doggery scenes. Just every bit of Doggery. He's just such a gift.
Which I
I'm-
think, yeah.
I
I
love
think-
the counterpart to Beatrice's scene, right? I understand why we only did one of them, but like I love that one just as much.
When you have them counterimposed against one another, it's hilarious.
It's very good. And that one definitely
Oh, yeah.
I would much rather, I think, do that one standing on the feet, right? So you can work a lot more of that blocking in. But yeah, I think, you know, were I to go for the 2.5 hour, the 3 hour stretch mark, that's when I'd start including the Dogberry scenes for sure. And and then you get to widen out the cast more as well, because you get to involve the constables. And you could also, if you don't want to do there are a lot of double casting opportunities in there that can be really fun as well. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're close to the end. Let's ask everyone where can they, what are you up to? Promote your things, and what are you doing next? I'm going to start off with our director, Max.
Sure. So if you would like to, you could follow me on Twitch at SusMD. Every Wednesday evenings we do a Stellaris roleplay game. So we essentially use Stellaris as a base system for what is essentially a little LARP. We all roleplay our empires. There are a lot of war crimes committed. It's a whole lot of fun. So definitely check that out. That's 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to at Anson Dadpunk. I post updates there as well. So like anarcho-syndicalist Dadpunk. And We'll probably I do want to get my Thursday show, or it might be another night, but watch out for another night being added to the stream at some point soon. I want to get back into the inebriated anarchist education hour kind of stuff. So that's where I get a little bit I get a little bit inebriated, or a lot of bit inebriated, and I invite guests on to educate them about this capitalist hell world that we call home.
All right. Derek, where can people find, or what's the next thing that you're working on?
That is a really good question. We are kind of, as much of the theater in the Bay Area is, we are kind of suspended. So normally I can be found at either unscripted.com or Stageworks. That's one of two theaters. So we have a lot of things planned, but many things on hold. So hopefully, what can I say? Get vaccinated.
Yes, please get vaccinated.
Here.
Anthony, where can people find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
I am the internet. Yes, hello. If you were looking for me on socials, you can find me on the Facebooks at my full name, Anthony Champ. If you're looking for me on the Twitters, the Instagrams, I believe those are the only other ones I use. I am under there as at Nerd with Pets. If you like watching video games but hate playing video games, I got you covered on twitch.tv/nerdwithpets, posting the link in chat for you all. I play video games on a sort of regular schedule. Right now we're doing a Tuesday and Thursday stream with some weekends thrown in. Stay tuned though, because we're hoping to start a stream